And I feel like it could just play some little offbeat rhythm, maybe something like this. Hi and welcome to this video. My name is Yannis and I want to share with you how you can create some hypnotic minimal techno patches on the Syntakt, deeply inspired by the music of Robert Hood, because I'm super fascinated by how he uses just a few tracks for creating some super deep sound, and he actually uses polyrhythms in some very interesting ways, so that's going to be some main focus of this video. Let's start by programming some simple 4-on-the-floor kick drums. So I'm using the bass drum hard on track 9. If you want to copy the settings, they look like this, so I usually tune it down a little and make it a bit thicker. Also, you can use any other kick drum that you prefer. And I applied some filtering, so it sounds a bit tighter. Amp looks like this. And yeah, let's just program those 4 notes. As you can see, the tempo is 136, and we can already continue with the main sequence, which I have on track 11. So it's also the analog engine, the dual VCA synthesizer. If you feel like copying the settings, they look like this. And for the filter, like this. And maybe also the amp. I usually don't change much here. And the Syntakt makes it really easy to create polyrhythmic arrangements. So once you enter the pattern length mode by pressing function and page, you can press function and yes, and now you can select some individual length per track, which is really great. So this track 11, which has the sequence, is going to have some polyrhythmic idea. And on this right side, you can change the maximum length to infinite, which means that whatever number you select here is going to repeat itself infinitely. Otherwise, you have to do some math, figuring out a number where it kind of hits the 1 again without interrupting the sequence, but it gets a little theoretical if I try to explain this here. This is way easier. So now you can simply reduce the steps, and you see it here already that if I select 6, we have some 6-step sequence that will repeat itself all the time without kind of adjusting itself to the bar lines. So now you can enter the sequencer mode and just compose one note on the first position, and you will see that it will always go back to the first position after the 6th position. And you can use all sorts of groups. 6 is kind of the most natural one in the beginning if you want to get away from groups of 4 or 8 or maybe 16. And also there's some amazing track from Robert Hood called Minus, who also uses a group of 6 on top of this 4-on-the-floor kick drum. I absolutely love this track, so I thought I'm also going to pick 6 for this example. It's also super fun with 5 or 7 or 9. But then you can slowly start adding some more steps. So for example, we can add another one at the fifth position. And also you can consider tuning it, actually you have to go to the trigger menu, using some higher octave, because it's really fun to actually experiment with simply different octaves. And now it's all about experimentation. So let's try adding a note on the 2nd position and tuning it 1 octave lower. Could sound cool, I think. A 5th from the root note also sounds great, which would be a G. So let's move this note to a G. Now we need something more spicy. So for example, we could add a minor 3rd, because it just sounds great in minor modes if you create this type of music. And on the 6th position, let's actually add a C sharp, which would now mean that we're in the Phrygian mode, which is also a great scale for techno music in general. Also, this whole acid stuff is often in Phrygian, but also for this kind of hypnotic sounds, I like the scale a lot. Sounds quite cool, but I find it too static. And I think now it's time to bring in a bit the generative features of the Syntakt, because we can make it sound a little more musical. You see already that we can change the probability, and you can do it per step. So what I like to do with a sequence like this is that I determine one note that is really important. For example, I feel like the first one should always be played. Also the 5th one, the one we created as the 2nd note, is kind of important, but sometimes it can be left out. So let's make it 80%, for example. And those other ones I don't find so important. So for example, the 6th note, the flat 2, so the kind of Phrygian, the charismatic note for Phrygian, I only want to have with a 20% chance Then this lower octave I also don't want to have so often, maybe like 30%, but the fifth can be there a lot, maybe not a lot, but 67% should be cool. And the minor third, I think, can also be there rather often, maybe like 50%. Let's actually make this 41%, because we don't want too many triggers. Maybe you also feel like it sounds really dry, so we should bring in some effects. And it's particularly fun here because if you increase the amount for the delay or you send it into a delay, you will fill up a little those gaps, because through the probability function, we have space now inside the sequence. And the delay looks like this. It's on dotted eighth notes, also on ping pong mode, so it's going to be some stereo delay. And it's a very musical thing to fill up those randomly created gaps, and you have some overlap with this rhythmic delay. Let's check it. And also we should consider adding some reverb. Which looks like this. And we can add even more musical variation through applying some LFOs, and that's probably my favorite part, especially the random LFO. So you change the waveform to random and this mode to hold. It means it sends out random values per note. It's really perfect for having the very musical type of modulation and randomness. And I, for example, really like to apply this to the decay of the filter, so the decay time of the filter. And we only have to increase the depth, and let's see what happens. So it's not like a crazy move, but it just makes you feel like something's happening, and it could also be a person just modulating the parameters, but I always love to set up LFOs in this way. And we have another LFO. You could also consider adding a very slow LFO that modulates the filter cutoff frequency. So let's try this one, and I prefer using sine waves for that. Free running, it should be the free running mode, and here we need to also check out the tempo. So something slow, for example, like this, and then let's see what happens. By the way, if you enjoyed this video and also feel like supporting this channel, you can quickly hit the like button and be also warmly invited to subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to make more videos about Syntakt in the future. And I absolutely love this process of setting up a sequence and then just checking different types of modulations with the LFOs. It's a very soothing and peaceful process. But now let's move on to another element, because I feel like we could need some bass as well, just giving us a little bit more of a foundation, and also defining still that we're in a 4/4 bar, because right now, since the kick drum is only playing quarter notes, it could also be some 3/4 bar. So on track 5, I have some little bass sound. It's really mild. Just like a little sub bass sound is the synth tone engine. Those are the settings, and those are the ones for the filter and the amp. And I feel like it could just play some little offbeat rhythm, maybe something like this. Super functional, but still it makes the whole beat sound a little smoother, and it adds a little bit of this bottom to it that makes it sit a little deeper inside the groove. But since we can make the sequence longer, it's also some consideration to add a tiny change in pitch for this bass line in the end, so it has a little more, let's say, direction. So let's go to the sequence length menu and make this all 4 pages. So now it should copy those steps to all 4 pages. And on the last page, we will just add a variation to first those 3 notes, maybe to the C sharp, which is also our kind of charismatic note in Phrygian. And for the last 3 notes, we even go to D sharp or E flat, which is the minor third. And I think this should sound also really cool. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you have some fun making your own hypnotic techno sequences. And if you're still looking for some more creative input on how you can use the Syntakt, here's a video about making generative ambient patches. And here's one exploring some DAW-less setup together with my Nord from 3P. Apart from that, I wish you lots of inspiration with whatever it is that you create and hope to see you soon again at this channel. Bye!